And hello, my fabulous students. This is your favorite teacher, Mr. Jacobson. I'm excited to be with you today. Today we're going to talk about hunter and gatherer or hunter-forager society. So let us begin. So the first thing you need to know is an idea called big geography. And it's a term that draws attention to the global nature of world history. Throughout the Paleolithic period, which began from a long time ago, we'll say about 2.5 million to 8,000 BCE, humans migrated from Africa to Eurasia, Australia, Americas. Early humans were mobile, creative, and adapting to different geographical settings, from savanna to desert to ice age tundra, etc. By making a comparison with modern hunter-forager societies, anthropologists infer that these bands were relatively egalitarian, meaning everyone is equal. That's an important word to know, people. Humans also developed varied and sophisticated technologies, which we're going to talk a little bit more as we go into the webcast today. Bottom line, big geography is simply a fancy word for saying the migration of early humans across the world. Big geography, migrations of humans across the world, that's pretty much the same thing. So we have all these people who are the early humans in the Paleolithic era, and they are going to slowly spread throughout the whole world. First, they will originate in Africa, according to historians, and then they will spread out of Africa. They will go into parts of Asia to Europe. They will also go down to Australia and Papua New Guinea in that area. They will eventually spread up here in about 20,000 BC. The Ice Age will hit, will allow them to cross the land bridge right here between Siberia and Alaska, which will then give them entrance into the Americas. The last place, according to historians, would be New Zealand, which was populated around AD 1000. Okay, so Paleolithic era, just to give you a frame of reference here, we're looking at 2.5 million BCE up into 8,000 BCE. This means Paleolithic is just a fancy word for Old Stone Age, and of course this is when the humans migrated across the globe. So another thing that happened that is super duper significant in the Paleolithic area is called the controlling of fire. I mean, do you ever really control fire though? But they didn't just have fire, they couldn't or make fire. You know, I mean, lightning could strike and fire could happen. They had to learn to, one, make it, and then to kind of control it to their benefit, to help improve their situation surrounding their environments. So when they finally figured out how to sort of use fire, control it, they were able to help in many ways. One is foraging. They could use that in finding foods and even cooking it. To protect against predators. Prior to fire being controlled, the early humans did not get out of Africa because there were just too many wild beasts around. But when you have fire, for some reason, every animal has this innate alarm or fear of fire. And so people could have a camp, a fire, early humans, and as long as that camp was burning bright through the night, the animals weren't going to go near them or near it, so they couldn't pick off, people while they were sleeping like they probably had done previously. So fire gave them a chance to kind of migrate north into Africa and then eventually to escape into the parts of Asia and to Europe, which we call Eurasia. And then they also were able to adapt to cold environments due to fire. That's pretty obvious, I would hope. And fire allowed them to see better after dark, which allowed them to have a better understanding of their surroundings and to use them to their advantage. And then finally, as I explained earlier, animals have this fear of fire. And and they would use this fear of fire to sort of scare the animals to fly over or plunge to their death over a cliff. Because think about it, you got these massive woolly mammoths who are just so monstrous and so stocky and thick that your spear, you might stick a spear in them, but I don't think you're taking them down. They'll either go after you or they'll run away. But what if you could use that bigness to your advantage and to their detriment? So they would kind of scare them to run over a cliff, and if they run over a cliff, due to their size and weight, they most likely would break their legs or break their neck or something, and then they had food to feed their band or tribe for a few days. And so tools also became an important part of the Paleolithic era. You have humans who developed a wide range of tools, especially adapted to the different environments, tropics, tundra, etc. These tools are made from wood, stone, animal bones, and antlers. So if you want to just take some time and to kind of see the different stages, you wouldn't know this, but animal antlers were actually a really important aspect of trying to shape these stones. Stones, obsidian, etc., that to make them into useful weapons. Okay, so you have just a list here if you want to kind of analyze these. These are tools that have been uncovered by archaeologists that are considered to be part of the Paleolithic era. And as you can see, a lot of them are spears. You have over here, these are sharp edges where they would use to pick up by their hand and maybe cut meat or something after the animal's dead to sort of portion it out. Other here, this could be a club of some kind that they fashioned to a stick or something. So anyway, fun stuff, right? So here's a funny joke. This would be like a job interview back in the Paleolithic era. It says, let's see, you make fire? Good. You make tools? Good. You hunt mammoth? Okay. Uh-oh. Your references are all baboons. Not good. Anyway, hunter and gatherer forger society. Let's talk about these people. So early humans traveled in small groups, typically around 20 to 40 people. These consisted of small families. These families will be known as kinship groups. So the people that hunted and gathered together, they were all pretty much related, or at least you had 2 big or 3 big families and that they related. They followed the animals so they could hunt and eat them. In fact, they migrated so they could eat. So naturally they're going to follow where the animals are going. So wherever the animals go in a pattern, the hunter and gatherers, these bands and tribes, will be going in that same pattern. The men would go hunt the animals that they followed, and then the women and the children would go scavenge around the campsite area and try to find any berries, nuts, tubers, or whatever they could find to also increase their food supply. These bands were patriarchal. Patriarchal means that the men were in charge. However, they were largely egalitarian, and egalitarian in this instance means that they were equal when it came to food. The food was most likely spread around equally. The men didn't say, well, we're men and we're going to take more than the women. According to our understanding, that's not the case. So anyway, and then the last one here is, I'm tired of hunting and gathering too, but nobody's invented grocery stores yet. Are we really thankful for the age we live in? Anyway, that's all for there's one more. Religion and art. Developed religion, okay, also during the Paleolithic, forces of nature that they interacted with. So anything that they saw that was like a tree or a river or something which they interacted with, they kind of gave it more of they deified it, and when the belief that animals, rivers, and other elements of nature possess spirits, it's called animism. And animism is not just known in the Paleolithic age, but even some of the American and Indians practice animism. And they were ritual sacrifices. In fact, a lot of these people sacrificed to the gods. And if they sacrificed to these gods that they gave these river spirits or whatever, then most likely they also believed in the afterlife, where after they died, they made God happy or the gods happy, and they went on to eternal bliss. And then also, a very important part of the culture is the artistic um, cave paintings. This happened around 32,000 BCE, and they also played instruments like flutes in the campsite. So that's it. Go ahead and write your one-page summary, and I look forward to discussing all these things with you on the following day. All the best.